Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Clearly you're powering through your documentary. You've worked out what you would like to do for your topic. I'm hoping you've got permission from your class teacher to pursue after they have had a look through your documentary proposal. Now it's time to move on to the next step. And the next step is going to be quite laborious. It's going to be quite lengthy and you're going to have to work pretty hard. So I hope you're prepared to do a lot of work from this point on. What we're looking at now is the research phase. If we just go back a quick step and have a look at the stages in creating your own documentary, you'll notice here last week it was about the proposal, and this week it's planning and researching your topic and scripting. And that's really all we're going to be looking at for this week. Now, it's not too hard. You know what researching is. I'm hoping that you've got some idea how to do this efficiently and effectively. So I'm just going to give you a few hints and tips after I go through the document you actually need to fill in. So when you're conducting your research, we're going to be looking for these things. We want you to find some interesting facts and opinions. So they could be people's ideas that are not necessarily based in scientific or scientifically provable, but you know, it can just be opinions, both for and against the topic. You really should know why people believe both sides. So if you're going to present a thorough understanding of a topic, you need to know why you're right and why other people are wrong, essentially. So I want you to have a look at what the for and against is. Whilst you're doing that, you'll identify some potential interview candidates. Now they might be experts that you come across in your research. They might be people who have published certain materials. They might be people who've posted YouTube clips or spoken on TED Talks. You would identify them as potential interview candidates, and you can turn some of the footage you find into a really good interview if you know how to edit the work that way. And the next one is some archival footage. So as you come across different YouTube clips in particular, and I'm sure you can source your video from other places as well, you want to try and keep a record of some of these clips, because you might take bits and pieces out of them and use them as a bit of archival footage, or you might use them as a bit of B-roll. So it's good to have more footage than you really need. So whilst you're researching, keep note of everything. And of course, any images or graphs or animations that you might use. You want to keep a record of all of these, please. Now, whilst you're doing your research, please understand that you do have to keep a record of it for your teacher, and we would like you to do that in the documentary planning booklet. Now you'll notice that all I did was I clicked on the link the resource that's right next to the information that we've just been going through, and it's just a Word document that you need to fill in. And all we've done is we've added the headings for the information that you are now gathering. And I've mentioned all of these previously, so summarize your information here and make sure you keep the source information here. So cut and paste the web address into here so you don't lose it. So we're going to try and help you keep track of how much information you've gathered by completing this particular table. So always good to do that. Your summary here, obviously be in your own words. It doesn't have to be ridiculously long, but don't just cut and paste from the pages that you're looking at unless it's a particular statistic that you have to get exactly right, or a particular quote that you want to use. Then you would be making sure that you get the wording exact. Otherwise, you really should be summarizing that in your own words. So go through and have a look at all these headings. This one's obviously interesting facts against the topic. For this one here, you look at your potential interview candidates. Think big. Don't forget, you're not actually going to go out and interview these people perhaps. So if you wanted to have Donald Trump as one of your interview candidates, you could either piece together phrases and responses that he's given in a previous interview and use that as your answers. You could get a family member to dress up maybe as the people that you want to interview, or you yourself could actually dress up in as a different character, as a different persona, and you could interview yourself while playing that other persona to try and get the content and those really high profile interviews that we can't realistically go out and get. And here we go. Here's the archival footage. Any images, graphs, animations, and B-roll that you might want to include. So make sure you jot those things down there. It doesn't matter how big these tables end up getting. If you've got a page for each one of these, awesome. That means you're not going to run out of material when it comes to putting everything together. The worst thing you can do is not keep a record of your research, lose some of it, and at the last minute want to get that back because you know it's going to fit beautifully into your documentary, or you have to make do with something else because you've forgotten where that piece of research has gone, or what that website was, or what that detail was. So make sure you cut and paste all of the source material and you should be okay. Now, as I've said here, it's always better to conduct too much research, but please remember you've got this week to do all of your research and all of your scripting. So don't spend 5 days researching and think your script's only going to take 5 minutes, because it won't. You probably need to spend more time scripting than you do researching. So give yourself maybe about 2 periods of research and at least 3 periods on your scripting, because you don't want to be wasting any of your any time in next week when you really need to start your filming. So you've got to keep to the deadlines. Now, with your research, make sure you're going to a variety of sources. Don't just only use one particular source of information. It's always good to have a range of video sources, because then you can use those as parts of your documentary, but you might also like to find other sources such as newspaper articles or feature articles, or different websites who might be related to particular institutions or organisations that are focused on your topic. Like you will find that sort of information, and you can of course screen record a lot of the pages and the content on their websites and use that as some of your material, particularly your B-roll. So there are clever ways to incorporate some of that particular imagery and content. Now, realistically, that's about it. You need to spend a reasonable amount of time on your research. You need to have that document filled in, and as you can probably see, every time you find a good piece of research, to summarize it and cut and paste the web address, it's going to take some time. So you're going to have to use your time really wisely. Don't dilly-dally. Get stuck into it and do as much as you can as quickly as you possibly can. If you're stuck with the research in terms of finding good information, then it might be a good indication that your topic's perhaps too hard, and you may need to reevaluate in collaboration with your teacher. But you should have picked a topic, I would hope, that you know there is going to be valuable information that is readily available for you. So you shouldn't really have that as a particular problem. Best of luck. I'll see you for the next tutorial.